today we're talking about quantifiers. We talked about the word quantity. Quantity tells us how much of something. So another word that we can use, we can say the word quantity, or we can say the word amount, or we could say the word number. These are the three words that we usually use to talk about how much we have of something. Right? So right here, I said small quantities was our first category, small quantities, but I could say small amounts. I could say small numbers of things, small amounts of things, small quantities of things. It's all the same. But today we'll use the word quantity. Great, okay. So when we're talking about small quantities, small amounts of things, then actually let's start with large quantities. With large quantities, we can say lots of, or we could say a lot of, right? Lots of or a lot of. We say of when the next word is a noun. When we say a thing. So here we know what thing this is. And for example, cars. A lot of cars. If we say the thing, then we need to use the word of. If someone asks us, how many cars do you have? And you say, a lot, then you don't need to say of, right? Just a short answer, a lot. But if you say cars, then you need to say of, a lot of cars. So this is the rule. Lots of and a lot of are exactly the same, 100% the same. Just if you say lot, then it has to be so you have two words here, a lot, right? But they're both the same. There's no difference. The next important idea when we're talking about large quantities is much and many, right? Much and many. When do we say much and when do we say many? We say much when we're talking about an uncountable noun, a thing that we do not count usually, like water. You don't usually count water. You don't say there's one piece of water. Right? So you don't count it. In general, liquids, milk, juice, water, in general, we don't usually count these things, these nouns, right? When we're speaking. And air, for example, we don't usually count this. And gas. They're usually uncountable nouns. So we use much with uncountable nouns. And we use many with countable nouns. Car. Can we count car? One car, two cars, three cars, four cars. Yes, this is countable. How many cars do you have? Many because it's countable. Because it's cars. Right? How many what? How many cars? Countable. But something we can't count, water, for example. How much water? Because water is not a countable noun. We don't say one water, two waters, three waters, four waters, usually. But so when we're talking about water, we say how much. Excuse me, can I have some water? How much water would you like? a glass of water. How much water would you like? I'd like 1 liter of water, right? 1 fluid ounce, something like this. This is how much. Sometimes when we have a thing that's uncountable, we put it inside of a container, like a bottle of water, a glass of water. When we do this, it's countable. It becomes countable. Water is not countable, but if we put it in a container, then now it's countable. So if I go to a restaurant and I say, I want 2 waters, then the person understands I want 2 bottles of water, or I want 2 cups of water, or I want 2 glasses of water. I want 2 containers of water, basically. So sometimes we do this with the example of water. But if we say air, let's say air. This is a different example, right? We don't usually put this in containers yet, maybe in the future. How much air? How much air is in this container? Air is uncountable, so we need to say much. Great. And then another word that we might use about large quantities is plenty. The word plenty, plenty of. Plenty means we have enough or we have more than enough. Like if this marker costs $1 and I have $10, I have plenty of money for this situation. Right? I have enough and I have more than enough. We use this a lot when we want to say that we don't really need more. It doesn't mean that this is bad, that we have a lot. It just means that we don't need more. For example, we make lots of food for the holiday, and we know that we will not eat all of this food. And your friend calls, hey, can I bring 1 more person? Yes, we have plenty of food. We have plenty of food. We have plenty of room in our house. We have plenty. We have enough and more than enough. Right? We can also use plenty when we tell somebody a phrase like, you have had plenty. You have had plenty. This means that you had enough. Like, you can stop now. You have had enough. You can stop. Right? So maybe a child will say, I want another cookie. I want another cookie. I want another treat. I want another sweet. And your parent can say, you've had enough. Or you have had plenty. Mm-hmm. Great. I remember a story. A man said, was telling the story. He said, when I was growing up, we always had plenty to eat. I asked my mom for more food, and she always said, no, you've had plenty. It means when he was growing up, he always had enough food. He asked his mom for more food. She says, no, you've had enough. So he had enough. He knows he always had enough. He's had plenty. Great. Small quantities. Small quantities, it's very similar, but we have two main words, right? We say little and few. But then we also need to understand the difference, because there's two different ways that we can use this. We have a little and a few, and we have very little and very few. So, a little or very little. We don't have to say very. We could just say little. A few or very few, but we don't have to say very. We can just say few. What's the difference? So we use few when we talk about countable nouns. Countable. And we use little when we talk about uncountable nouns. For example, how many friends does he have? He has a few friends. Or he has very few friends. But how much air is in this room? There's very little air in this room. There's a little air in this room. Right? So uncountable and countable. This is why, for example, if you're asking for water, you could say, could I have a little water? Can I have a little water? Can I have a small amount of water? Can I have some water? Right? Can I have a little water? A little water. It would be, you shouldn't say, can I have a few waters? If you say, can I have a few waters? This is about bottles of water, right? Or glasses or cups. Okay, so a little, very little. What's the difference when we say then a little or very little? Or a few, very few? Let's take the example of friends. How many friends does he have? He has a few friends. This is a small number. 5, 4. He has a few friends, right? If we say he has very few friends, then this means that like it's difficult for him to make friends. Not a lot of people are friends with this person, right? He has very few friends. So the way that you can think about this is like a small number or a small percentage. Like, how many people in your city have a bird, a pet bird, a bird that lives in their house? How many people in your city have a pet bird? What do you think? If we say a few people have pet birds, this means 5, 6. Probably more people than that have pet birds in your city. It's more than a few. But if we say few people, or if we say very few people in my city have birds, then this means a small percentage, like 1% or 2% or 3%. But maybe 3% of your city, maybe this is 30,000 people, right? And that's not a small number. So we use very few or just few, and we use very little or just little, usually when we're talking about a percent. In the example with friends, he has very few friends. Like a low percent of people want to be friends with him, basically, right? Great. Another example, we can use the word help. Help is a verb, but help is also a noun. It's a thing, and it's uncountable, right? So when someone helps us, we can say, thank you for your help. This is all of the things that they did that helped you. Thank you for your help. You don't say thank you for your helps, right? You don't say this. You use a different word. So help is uncountable. And we could say, for example, a single mother, a mother who doesn't have a husband or doesn't have someone to help her, you could say she has very little help with the children. Right? She has very little help. She does not have a lot of help. Help is uncountable. And so we need to use little. If we say she has a little help, this means she has some. Like she has some help, right? But if we say she has very little help, it's like almost none